I also want to mention that even we have such big growth already, we see that kind of growth pain. So the scale of the open source community in China, we try to build it has never been done before. So we actually also encounter problems or situations we are not very handled very well. I also want to hear from you that from your point of view, when you deal with openEuler community, any suggestions or the ways we can improve? So maybe you can give some suggestions to the community.
First of all, outreach, of course. You need to let all the developers in the world know about openEuler. What is the uniqueness of openEuler? So I think it was a good start that you guys have a keynote in Open Source Summit, right? And then there's so many open source events that I think you should voice out, right? openEuler, like openInfra, right? Like all these open source events in the world. So the outreach is one thing. And the second thing is, I think we should encourage more developers or contributors outside China. So I think it will naturally, be done. But again, outreach, those developers knows what is going on. For example, like the PyTorch developers, they don't know. Oh, openEuler natively support PyTorch. I don't have to put my customized PyTorch TensorFlow, it's headache and all those things. But openEuler, bingo, right? So this is something that we need to tell them. And then especially the AI world right now, AI native OS, which is really hard. So this is something that I think we should tell more story case studies that I just mentioned. How do you deploy AI, right? There's so many good scenario in China.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
There's good story to tell.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can share my personal experience. What things I think could be improved on the openEuler site. First one is, for example, when I find some issue in some software and I file an issue at GT, the GitHub version in China, and I face kind of a wall. I write something and then no one responds for many days, and then I have to reach to some personal connections to say, hey, I have some problem here, could you find someone to help me? And then someone responds in Chinese. I use Google Translate to translate it, and the communication is a little bit hard, and eventually at the end something happens. Many things don't happen. At the event in Vienna, I went to a session when they explained how the documentation is being improved, because currently a lot of things are documented in Chinese, and if you want to use and implement them somewhere, again, it's a bit hard for me as a non-Chinese person to understand what exactly I have to do to use the new feature or product. So these things will definitely help to grow openEuler out of China.
Thank you for your patience.
I echo a lot of the things the previous speaker said, especially what Martin said. I think that the technology is very good, and there's a lot of use cases. Like AI native OS is hard. I don't think there are many solutions out there at least. So the innovation is pretty bleeding edge, but the communication has always been the biggest roadblock, because I also don't speak Chinese, and there is most often the communication happens in Chinese, and it's hard to grasp. And I'm just spitballing here, but with all the LLMs and the AI native OS coming up, maybe a good case study is real-time translation, and maybe that'll help.
Yeah, maybe real-time response as well.
Building off of all of that, I think that the internationalization in terms of translation would definitely help, but we're fortunate to have a China community manager that helps kind of interface and bridge the gap between the rest of the world and China, because without him we would be struggling a lot more than we do. I think that there are a lot of tools that China uses to communicate, like WeChat and stuff, that the rest of the world is not as present or aware of. present in or aware of. And so as the difference in tooling is a comically large barrier for a lot of developers when they're supposed to use tools that they're not familiar with. Even in the rest of the world, like there are a lot of people using GitHub, but our community, we use Garrett, so that's already a big difference. So we have a little bit more experience navigating those changes than a lot of open source communities. Like the CNCF, everything's on GitHub, right? Like, so we already know that there are a lot of different tools to use, but whatever can be done to try to meet people where they are, I think would help. Obviously, you're not going to migrate your whole community away from the tools that you use and are established on. That's ridiculous. But as much translation that can happen as possible will definitely help alleviate that barrier. And yeah, just everybody focusing on trusting one another and that we're trying to collaborate together will go a long way to smoothing out the road.
Really appreciate these suggestions. I think really helpful, and some issues you mentioned that we are also aware of, and we try to improve with the help from the team here.
Yeah.
And so maybe we can include interview by you guys say a word about your wishes about the future of the openEuler project.
Ecosystem, again, ecosystem, much bigger ecosystem. So we're talking about not just it's so huge, AI, right? I don't know how to talk about it, but this is a much bigger ecosystem that we can collaborate and make it happen as well. So this is one single thing. If you would just ask me, so that single thing, I would say ecosystem.
Yeah, I don't know how many percents it should grow, but I hope it will grow enough to be recognizable. Whenever I say I use openEuler to a colleague, he says, "Yeah, I have heard of it." So this would be huge for me.
I think outreach. You guys are already working with a lot of international communities like SPDX, OPIA. I saw recently you guys joined OPIA, so this is all great. More outreach, more stuff in English and Chinese together would be great. I think that's the key.
Yeah. Another word in similar ideas is, I guess, globalization or global recognition. That's 2 words, but yeah, I think that like there's so many good things happening and so much innovation happening within openEuler. So to make it recognized on a global scale, having that global recognition is going to be really important to the future.